Hello, I am Jody Wolf, and you're watching Expoz. Today is December 9, 2013, 1:01 a.m., Birmingham, Alabama. Topic, the Battle of New Orleans. And you've heard of this. You've heard the song. I know you have. It's a good song made back in the 60s. But in any case, it depicted a real event and a real battle in which the British wanted to take New Orleans in the mouth of the Mississippi River, which would have given them the Louisiana Territory, went from the Gulf of Mexico up the Mississippi and to the west of the Mississippi all the way into Canada. I don't know how many, 15, 16, 17, 18 states or parts of states. It was a third of the United States. That's how big the Louisiana Territory was. And it could have been controlled by the British. However, they ran into a little obstacle, and I'll tell you about that. In 1814, the British conquered Washington, and they burned the capital. Well, the British then headed to the Mississippi River to take New Orleans. And an army post there had a colonel. His name was Andrew Jackson. He was in charge. He had a meager few men between 12 and 1,400. That's it, 12 to 1,400 men, while the British was on their way from Washington with 16,000 men. So Andrew Jackson got word what happened in Washington and that 16,000 men were on their way to take New Orleans. And he said, what in the world are we going to do? Well, the British, as well as the Americans, knew that there were a number of pirates in that part of the world. And Jean LaFitte was, look at the name. That's clearly Cajun, but it's clearly European. So maybe Jean came from Europe. We don't know, or you can find out easy enough. But in any case, he controlled the bayous all around Mississippi River, all around New Orleans, and parts east and west of New Orleans. But he had an island called Grand Tier that he lived on. I don't know how many people he had, a few hundred, but he would have probably chose or made a choice to go with the Britons because, look, the British are coming, and they have an army of 16,000 men. Who is he to fight on the side of Andrew Jackson with 12 or 1,400 men? No, he's not going to do that. However, there was a game changer, and that game changer was called the Constitution. When John heard that there was a Constitution, he said, what is this Constitution? And one of his men happened to know this. He was, in fact, a man that brought him the message. Hey, there's a British army on their way, and they're down here to defeat Andrew Jackson and take over New Orleans and the Mississippi River. He said, but tell me about this Constitution. I've never heard of this. His man told him about the Constitution, told him about the Bill of Rights, told him what was in the Constitution. And Jean LaFitte said, well, hey, that sounds mighty attractive. Who wants to be back under the rule or the thumb of the Roman Empire, which was Britain, the British? So here they come. They came down. Jean LaFitte teamed up with Andrew Jackson, and it probably didn't give them more than 1,400 to 1,600 men when he added a couple of hundred. But the army that came with the British lost 2,036 men. The Americans lost 71. 2,036 British dead, 71 Americans dead. British were defeated and they left. So and the battle was completed on 1815. In 1815, this is just another nail in the Britain's coffin, or the British coffin. There were other battles prior to and after, but this one you can see it, and it's depicted in a movie called The Buccaneers. Interesting show, and look it up and watch it. Called The Buccaneers. And that is the true Battle of New Orleans depicted in a song and in a movie. Jody Wolf, Expoz.